The hidden power of ritual. You ever notice how you start your morning? The small sequence you follow before the day actually begins. Your coffee or tea is poured, your candles are lit, maybe a moment of quiet or introspection or prayer before the world rushes in around you. We rarely think of these things as ritual, but they are. I'm Justin Gates, and welcome to the new Ashla Podcast. Hello and welcome to the new Ashla Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Gates, and joining me today is my boy, Michael Perry.
Hey, fam.
Hiding behind me is Heather. See,
there we go.
I wasn't lying to you. Today we're going to talk about ritual. And I know for some of you, you're going to be like, what? What do you mean rituals? You know, we lost like 6 listeners because of the Heaven and Hell show because they probably didn't actually listen to it. But I promise you today, this topic isn't going to be spooky or devil worshiping or whatever kind of thing that you think ritual actually is, because it probably isn't that. Ritual isn't spooky. It isn't reserved for the temples or the robes or these ancient chants. They can be, and they are. But we're coming at this from a more grounded and down-to-earth understanding of ritual today. Michael, when you hear about the word ritual, what do you think? Where do you think people...
I know for me, when you suggested this episode, I was like, what tangent is he going down? And I had to wait till you had your show notes to be like, okay, cool, we're on the same page with this. Because, man, ritual to me is one of the most pivotal pieces to a successful and productive life. But whenever I hear the term ritual, my mind automatically goes to the people in the robes or different ceremonies going on.
Right. Which some of those are really cool to watch and they're really cool to participate in. But this is not what we're talking about, because that stuff is more ceremonial. It's more performance than it is day-to-day empowering your life, right? And this is what we're talking about. So, and let's dispel the ugliness around the word ritual. So, like most people that I know, when I talk about ritual, they think, oh man, well, you know, they just imagine like 40 people sitting around in hooded robes and they're chanting in some ancient language. And, you know, a lot of people, especially if you are brought up like you and I were, in a more Christian home or agnostic home or whatever, we're kind of taught to stand away from that stuff. Don't look at it. It's evil. It's dark. It's whatever. But really, ritual are those habits that we do with presence, that we do consciously to get our days going, to empower everything we do with intention, right? With presence, with purpose. So that's what we're talking about today. And it's a lot like when you first came to me and we were learning together, and it came time to teach you how to be mindful. And, you know, you came to me and you were like, I need to learn how to be more mindful. I need to learn how to slow down. And what kind of activities did I suggest to you to do to learn mindfulness and how to do that? It wasn't like these elaborate 4-hour meditations or anything, right? What were they?
No. They were very practical. I remember at that time I was dealing with horrible rumination. I was coping with a lot of trauma, and I was bouncing all over the place. And I remember the first suggestion you had was mindfulness. And it's like, well, how can I be mindful when my mind's going a million miles an hour? And you're like, it's simple. Like when you're washing the dishes, watch the bubbles come up, watch the water move. If you're cooking a steak, watch how it sweats, watch the different things that are going on as it slowly cooks. Those are things to ground yourself in the present.
Yeah, because you become present, because you are now consciously making an effort to be aware of what literally all the things that are happening in front of you. And that serves you in far greater things, right? It seems simple and it seems kind of silly. I know, you know, I've had people I've talked to about before where they would say, really, the dishes, brushing my teeth? Yeah, brush your teeth. Man, focus on feeling the brush hitting every part of your mouth. Not only will your mouth be cleaner, but you'll start to learn mindfulness. You start to learn presence. And that's kind of the groundwork for doing all these other things, especially when you're doing meditation and prayer and all this other stuff. So you have to be present. You have to be mindful. You have to be in the moment. So this ritual is simply the act and almost an instinct we have to weave meaning into action, meaning into our habits, into our daily routines. Just change the word routine for ritual. And once you start looking at it that way, I promise you, you'll be like, damn, it does feel like a ritual because I'm doing it. No one else is doing it the same way I am. I promise you, you're like, if you watch people or if you just ask somebody, don't be weird about it. Don't be like,
How do you brush your teeth?
how do you brush your teeth? Oh, yeah. Wow. That's weird. Don't do that, but kind of listen and just see how people, if you live with someone else, watch how they do things and it'll be totally different. Right? So again, this could be simple things. How you make your coffee, how you journal, how you giving thanks or saying a prayer before a meal or whatever it is you do. If you know anybody who's a gym rat, man, they have all kinds of rituals before they get to the gym, when they get home from the gym, when they go to the gym. It's crazy. And they all kind of do different things. So we're here for two reasons today: to empower your life through turning these habits and routines into intention-filled, purposeful movements and actions where you are present. So because the light of creation meets us where we are. And when we make a concerted effort to make even the most ordinary acts intentional, they become gateways to greater peace and greater presence and greater power in our practice, in our paths. So the distinction here is it's not in what you're doing. That's not the important part here. It's how you go about it and why you're doing it. So your intention, your purpose. So, and again, I believe that we are ritual making creatures by nature. That's what we do. That's what we do, especially when we get together, so like before there were temples, before there were any of that, we would sit in circles. We would sit in front of fires. Long before cathedrals, we had, we would all kind of hold hands and give thanks for meals because meals came hard, right? It wasn't like I could just go down to, KFC and get a bucket, for the family. So, and none of this was spectacle. There are some, again, that are spectacle, but we're not talking about spectacle or performance. It was intention. And when we pour meaning into our actions, our routines, then we send a message to our being, to our body, to our heart, to our mind, to our soul, that what we do matters. What we do is important. What we do is necessary for us because we put our presence and our purpose into it.
Well, and it's just like, ritual can be some of the most simple things we have in our lives, from our commute to work. It can be how we interact with our significant other when we come home. Ritual finds its way to weave itself in our lives. Our minds are programmed to take the path of least resistance and to automate as much of life as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not intentional about it, it will not automate good systems. There are so many people that are so scattered and they don't have direction because their rituals haven't been fine-tuned. There's an amazing book called Atomic Habits, and he talks about when you want to build habits, you got to make it routine. You got to make it a ritual. You got to stack on top of things and have it where it's the path of least resistance. So it's like, if you want to start going to the gym and you find when you get home you really don't want to go to the gym, maybe you should take your gym bag to work and then drive to the gym after work before you come home.
Mm-hmm.
It's finding ways to start building these rituals in your life that is sustainable and something you can act on, and working with yourself, because we are human and we do want the path of least resistance.
We do. As you're fond of, what makes this show interesting is that I come from a mystic background. I teach mysticism. Doesn't sound like it all the time, but I teach mysticism. This is the way of light. This is everyday mysticism, the things we talk about. Michael brings a touch of psychology, and he helps me ground this mysticism, which sometimes is woo-woo and sometimes it's kind of floating out here. He helps bring it down. And I'll point out to Michael and to all of you that even science points to why ritual empowers us, why mindful, purposeful actions do that. Because our nervous system craves predictability, does it not?
Yep.
When life is chaotic, these repeated, purposeful, mindful actions soothe our anxiety and bring us a sense of wellness or a sense of safety or a sense of comfort, whatever it is. Our souls, our beings, really, when they're aligned together, crave meaning. We need it. How lost do we feel when we don't have these things? We long to belong to something bigger, but we also long to anchor our days in purpose, because the days are long and they are many, right?
Yeah.
We never know when they're going to end, but while we're here, there are many, and they are long. So ritual helps bridge these two longings to meet. Back to your example, when I taught you mindfulness, right? Your nervous system needed that predictability because everything was just getting too chaotic, and you needed a way to slow down and see what's actually happening in front of you. So the things we do, this is the way of light. It is everyday mysticism, practical mysticism, if you prefer. I've heard it called that before. It's how we align the physical, the mental, the spiritual, and our heart. So, like for example, when you light a candle before you journal, if you do that, you are declaring, I am turning toward the light. I am making space for clarity. I may not say it in that way, but you have a reason for lighting a candle. You have a reason for doing these different things, these different steps. And it's usually, I'm not just saying, pouring coffee, sitting down, drinking it. But I promise you, there are other steps that you do more than likely every day before you prepare your coffee, before you sit down, before you read the internet, paper, whatever. If people still read papers, I don't know. I don't think there are any grandpas out here still reading papers. There might be.
Well, and to your point, I mean, there's so much of our lives. I don't care who's listening. I guarantee you there are things in your life that are automated when you do it. What time do you normally have dinner? What time do you sit down and watch TV? Is it right after you get home? There's routine in everything we do. It's just as a productive routine, as a productive ritual.
Is it good for you?
Yeah.
We're not talking about doing the really bad things for yourself, the things that just damage your body, damage your mind, damage your system. So again, that's what we're talking about today. And of course, the ethos and the agreements all tie into this, as they always do. Love is being present when you make tea or when you make coffee for a friend who's weary, or speak kindness to yourself in the mirror when you're doing your affirmations. Truth lives in that quiet moment when you pause and remember and you retrospect about the day ahead or the day behind you. So let's talk about some rituals that most of us probably already practice. Do you have one? Do you have one that you think everybody probably does?
Well, I mean, the dinner one, that one's for sure.
Yeah.
What time do you have lunch? Do you do breakfast? Because I bet you're either someone who does do breakfast or does not do breakfast,
Yeah.
with very little in between.
Right. Yeah. So let's think about how most will start the day. The way we brew coffee or tea. I brew coffee in my coffee maker, but I'm very purposeful and very mindful about how I put the coffee together. And I do it exactly the same way. First, I empty out the old grinds, and then I turn around and I get my coffee, and I get my filter, and I do. And it sounds very mundane. It's like, of course you do those things, dumbass, because that's how you make coffee. But it's the way I do it. And then when I'm waiting for it to brew, then I come into this office that you see, my little space, and I start my daily prayers. And I start my daily meditations. Sometimes those are not as elaborate as others because sometimes I got to get out of the house soon because I overslept or whatever. But I can tell you, when I do oversleep and it throws that off, then I'm upset that I didn't get to do my morning rituals.
Yeah.
I get a little upset by that. And now I'm like, well, this sucks because there's nothing I can move around in my day to fix that because it's lost. It's gone, right? And now I'm upset. Maybe that's a pitfall to having ritual every morning. But there's nothing evil about this, right? I mean, we're talking about making coffee, saying some prayers, doing some meditations. On certain days, I add in my workouts, or I add in my stretching, or I add in other things. But so my point is, these morning things that we do, these afternoon things we do, these evening things we do. Maybe you exercise, maybe you journal, maybe you pray, meditate. Maybe you always have to light a candle in all the purposeful things you're doing, journaling and meditating and praying. I mean, you ever walked into a church that didn't have a candle lit? I haven't. You ever walked into a place where people are meditating and they usually have some kind of soft music going somewhere?
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just hanging out at places no one else is. I don't know. But it seems to be very specific things that are being done. But again, earlier I called you, or I had Heather text you and say, I'm going to be late because we were supposed to record this earlier today. And you're like, oh, good. Now I have time to go do some R&R and go for my regular bike ride. Right. So
yeah,
our families and our communities are built on ritual, aren't they?
Yeah. 100%.
Bet you can name a few that all of us,
oh yeah,
probably almost all of us do.
Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas time coming together. Yeah, my family does the same thing every year. It's a family dinner on Thanksgiving, and usually we get together on Christmas Eve, and it's the whole family just sitting there together, trying to do their work or trying to join together.
Right. And we call these things different words because they make us feel better. We call them holidays, or we call them traditions, or we call them routines because of the stigma around the word ritual. It doesn't matter what you call it, they're still built on ritual. The ideal of ritual, right? The repetitive, mindful, purposeful thing. Birthdays, weddings. You ever been to a wedding? I went to yours, and there was many elements of those traditional ritual that was done since, and you guys even did a more traditional wedding where you did the hand fasting, right? Yep. That's really traditional, right? So birthdays and weddings and funerals, shared meals, holiday traditions. These aren't just events. They're containers for us to belong to whatever group of people that we're doing these rituals with. And I know, as I'm talking today, I know somebody out there is just like, I can't believe this son of a gun is comparing what we do, our holy things, as ritual. You know what? Go to a church, and they do ritual. I mean, the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer, communion for those who do communion. So before you get too upset with me, just give me some grace and just kind of open your mind to the ideal that all of these things are based on ritual. And ritual is not a bad word. It's not a bad word. Hollywood makes ritual scary. But I've seen lots of different ceremonies. I've seen lots of different traditions. I've seen lots of different actual rituals. People called them rituals, and none of them were scary. None of them. So we do these things all the time. Like, have you ever stopped to think, has anybody ever stopped to think why we celebrate birthdays the way we do? Why do we do that?
That's a good question.
I mean, if weddings is the joining of two people, right? Give me a hand. If weddings are the bonding between two people, why do we get so weird about it? And if we just want to share our intention of we're in this together, we're doing it. We're one. We are now one being, right? We're two, now we're one. Why go through all this stuff? Because humans need that. Because we need that. Because it's important for us to share these things. So the truth is, ritual is already happening. And again, the difference is, are we doing it with intention or letting it, as you said earlier, running on autopilot? Is it just a unconscious habit?
Yeah.
So the question is I have for you, when we don't choose our rituals, and that may bring us comfort temporarily, but fail to nourish us deeply, right?
Yeah.
When we don't, is it really that important? Is it important for us to build these rituals and these traditions and routines, or whatever word makes you happy to use? Is it important for us to do that long term?
It's vital because, look at addiction, all right? It takes that one time doing that one thing, having that one drink when you're going through a bad day. Then the next day you're like, I'm going to try this again. And rituals will rear their ugly heads if we're not mindful of the habits we are creating.
Right. And like the rituals of mindfulness for you, they affected you on a very deep level. And they were so simple, little stupid things. So when we don't choose those, when we don't choose our rituals and our routines and our habits, again, we might find temporary comfort, but we fail to nourish the being, the whole thing. But when we infuse them with purpose and presence, they transform. There's an axiom, and you can speak to the axiom here. Nourish the mind, body, and spirit with the sustenance of virtue and righteousness. That axiom ties really good in here, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Because you will find nourishment one way or another, but it's up to you to choose to find ones that are going to benefit you, help you grow, help you live a sustainable life. You might like your junk food in the morning, but you do that continuously for a couple of years, your health will suffer the consequences.
Yeah, because you really need to notice where your current rituals, routines nourish you and where they don't truly nourish you. If I'm starving, can I eat a candy bar? Will that help me? Of course it will. Of course it will.
For the moment, though.
Right. Is that something I should eat every day?
No.
For every meal? You ever seen the movie Super Size Me? Oh my God.
Yo.
Oh my God, dude! I didn't eat at McDonald's for like 2 years after that movie came out.
I've heard
And I
that
don't
from
eat
most people who've watched it. I
I
love
don't eat a lot
McDonald's.
of
So I refuse to watch it.
right. Well, I mean, I don't eat a lot of fast food anyway. You know, like shit. Our kids never even drank soda in the house growing up. You know, they had to go to their friend's house for that. So
Yeah.
you know,
Another thing to really be mindful with rituals is emotional states. I had a huge epiphany this week in my shadow work where I realized that my anxiety and catastrophizing that I do more frequently than I care to admit comes from a place of my mind trying to find a way to control the unknown. And so anytime things are stressful or things are going on, my mind instantly goes to its ritual of, all right, let's just look at all the worst case outcomes here. And that way I don't have to worry about not being prepared for it. And 99% of the time, none of that ever happens. But and it's about catching the different emotions like depression, the anxiety are both ritualistic things where when we start feeling the state, if we don't manage it, we don't learn to control it, it controls us.
yeah, yes. So how do we turn these ordinary things, these ordinary habits or movements that we do every day into something sacred? This is where the shift happens by moving from living by habit unconsciously to living with intention and purpose and present. And so it doesn't need to be dramatic again, right? To be powerful. You don't have to have incense and candles to create a sacred moment, although there's nothing wrong with you if you do that. I burn incense behind me here. Candles too. But I do them ritualistically. I do them at certain times. And you know, sometimes I can't even tell you why. I just feel it, and that's what I do, but I do it like that consistently. So how do we start turning the ordinary into something sacred?
Well, I think you said the key word, that's intentionality. You know, look at the routines and the rituals you have that and the consequences, right? What do you want to change in your life? And as I brought up earlier, habit stacking. I noticed I was drinking a lot more when I would come to my Friday nights because I'd have nothing going on. And so that was my way to fill that void. And so what I had to start doing is I had to start incorporating, I had to plan. What am I going to do once this time period rolls around? Am I going to jump on games? Am I going to play guitar? Am I going to go out for a walk when I get that itch? And it's about being intentional about what do you want to change and what do you want to add. And again, habit stacking. It's one of the greatest skills you can learn because it's one thing to set a goal. I'm going to go to the gym, but if you figure out how you can make that realistic for you,
right?
Because I mean, I've been there. I've been like, I'm going to start going to the gym every day, and then I don't go at all. And 9 out of 10, it's because of where I'm trying to place that in my life.
Right.
I'm trying to do it an hour after I get home, and that's when I'm like, I really don't want to go to the gym today. But if I take my gym bag to work and on my way home, I stop at the gym, I'm good to go. I also wanted to start walking more, but again, I'm working 100-hour weeks. So what do? I now get up at 5 in the morning, and just like you do, I'm ritualistic. I make my cup of coffee. As it's brewing, I go and get my shoes on, my headphones, and I go for a 30-minute walk. And that's just a way for me to get movement in. But it's about finding the places where it's easy to stack.
Right. And these are little things. It could be as simple as doing a calming breath before you open your laptop in the morning or before you sit down at your workstation at work. It could be just simply pausing for gratitude before you eat. You don't have to go into elaborate prayer, and you can. So I just want to point some out here. I'm not saying that those who do ceremonial ritual, there's anything wrong with that. That stuff is awesome. I love watching it. I've been a part of, like I said before, I've been a part of many of them. I have incorporated some of those into my practice now. But again, we're trying to bring this down to where it's accessible to all of us because these things are powerful. The ceremonial stuff is powerful, but we can bring that power into our everyday life, right? So again, it could be as simple as taking some good breaths before you answer the phone, especially depending on what kind of work you do. If you're dealing with angry customers all day, you probably should do a lot of breathing, right?
Yeah.
Being grateful like I do. Being grateful before you eat. That could be simply taking, 10 seconds at privately on your own, surrounded by a whole table full of people and being grateful inside and putting that forward. Whispering a prayer as you blessing things.
Well, one of the things I do
It's easy to bless things. Just let me finish real quick. It's easy to bless things. People think you have to be a priest or some kind of go through all this elaborate training. Michael, my brother, I bless you. And I hope your day, after we leave to get from our time together today, I bless you with all the power in the universe. I bless you. It is simply that. It's just as simple as that. So these things are tiny. You don't have to have all these credentials to have powerful interactions and have powerful effect on people and yourself. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, that's a beautiful point. I mean, blessings is one of the most powerful things you can not just do for others, but for yourself.
Yeah.
We had an interview with Courtney just the last episode, and one of the things we talked about is like the whole "thank you, I forgive you, please forgive me." Is like when we bless those who have done dirty to us.
Yeah.
It's empowering, it's uplifting, and it's releasing some of that energetic charge.
Yeah. It was, I love you. I forgive you. Please forgive me. You do not have to be a priest or the right hand of God to do that. We all have that ability to bless each other, right? So these small things change everything because they make that invisible visible. They make the inevitable real.
Yeah.
And for us to hold and for us to give to each other. But I will say something, and you can help me talk about this, but here is something important about this. Ritual isn't performance. Nothing we do, nothing we teach on this podcast we talk about is about performance. It's about authenticity. None of this is for show. It's not about what looks spiritual or trendy. That's why I said earlier, I'm probably going to lose a few listeners because it's either not woo-woo enough or they heard the word ritual and went running for the hills. Don't care. I honestly don't care. When you're ready, you'll come back, right? The Heaven and Hell show wasn't about fire and brimstone and harps and angels. It was about being connected to each other, to the universe, to God, to all of creation, or disconnected. And those are different states of suffering. So, you'll come back when you're ready, because my goal in this life is to demystify these things that everybody else is telling you. You have to go through them to get. That's not what Jesus taught, and it sure as hell ain't be what I taught, what I teach, or what I put forward. We all have a choice. So this is not about performance. It's not about for show. It's not about what looks cool or spiritual or trendy or whatever. It's about what empowers you. And what empowers you won't always be the thing that empowers me. And the things I teach and the things I share may not always empower you, but they are truth. Truth has no regard for popularity. Probably one of our most powerful axioms, besides the student is the best teacher. Truth has no regard for popularity. Being authentic in these practices isn't about impressing anyone. And as we were talking to, you mentioned Courtney. We talked to Courtney, the show that's out now. By the time you guys see this, it had been out probably a week ago. We're talking about how in these spiritual circles, especially the more spiritual ones, the religious ones, there's a lot of spiritual ego there. And everybody's there trying to, I won't say everybody, but it seems like most people are there to try and impress each other and stuff like this. When Heather and I and you and Allison, we went to that full moon ritual with the Saluna ladies, no one was doing any kind of measuring. No one was whipping it out and measuring it. Everybody was there to just flow and to chill, right? Mm-hmm. And to learn and to be community. And there was only like 8 of us, but it felt like a big community, didn't it? It felt like we were all there to not impress each other, not to perform, not to do anything. And those ladies are so good at it.
Yeah, it wasn't about who knows more, who knows less.
Right.
It was no pissing contest.
There was no pissing contest. Thank you, Heather. Now that we've kind of beat this thing to death, Michael, about what ritual really is and what we're trying to accomplish today. And, of course, from our perspective, we like to keep it light-filled, right? And make sure it always honors the ethos, love, truth, integrity, connection, and respect for life. Let's talk about creating our own. The beautiful thing about ritual is that it doesn't have to be elaborate. It just has to be intentional. So, here's a simple 4-step framework, and we'll go one by one here together. Number 1, clarify your intention. What do you want this moment to hold? Is it peace, gratitude, courage, whatever? Ritual is simply a vessel for that intention.
And one thing I just want to say with intention too, especially if you're really wanting to build a ritual on something, make it specific.
Actionable, right? All right, second step, choose a meaningful action. Remember, all this stuff is about purpose, presence, and meaning and intention. So choose a meaningful action. This could be lighting a candle, or doing deep breathing, or writing a single line in a journal, taking a walk, bike ride, even washing your hands as an energy cleansing practice. When you're washing your body in the shower or bath, don't just wash the dirt off, wash yourself energetically. That could be also something you can do mindfully.
Well, and above all, I think one of the most important words of this is action. Don't plan the perfect action for it. Do the perfect action. There's a book called The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins, and I love this concept where it's like if you want to do something, within 5 seconds of having that thought, take action. Be intentional with that action, but take action.
Do it. Just do it. Do it. No, we're not sponsored by Nike, but just do it. The third thing is you're going to add a symbolic anchor. And that's just bringing something that helps your body and spirit, your being, really remember what you're doing in your practice here. It could be a specific stone that you hold in your hand, right? It could be some more deep breathing or some more breathing, a sip of tea, or going outside and closing off with, feeling the sun on your face, whatever. These are all for you, up to you. But make sure that the anchor here is symbolic. That's important. What kind of symbolic things do you do that come to mind?
I know before we ever record a podcast, I always do a meditation beforehand. Another place I incorporate meditation, because meditation is so powerful, is I get to work 10 minutes early every day, and I set this thing called an insight timer that has two bells that go off. And so my first 3 minutes of my meditation is grounded in gratitude, or is in grounding. So I just try to make myself come to the present, notice the sensations, the seat underneath me, the clothes I'm wearing. Then for the next 3 minutes, I do gratitude and I focus on everything I'm thankful for, whether it's just having a roof over my head and power in the walls. And then the last 4 minutes I spend in visualizing what I want to accomplish that day and in my life. And I use it as a great time to just get in line with my dreams, my aspirations, and my higher self.
Good stuff. So again, clarify your intention, choose meaningful action, and that's just action that holds powerful meaning for you. It doesn't have to be anything else anybody else does. And add a symbolic anchor. Something to make a note of here, though. You need to keep it simple and keep it repeatable. It has to be simple and repeatable. Complexity isn't necessarily power.
No, and it can definitely derail starting a ritual, because the more complex it is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you ever practice ceremonial magic, it is super, super complex. That's why most people just, stop. It's very difficult, but the more practical, the better. The more consistent, the better. Consistency is where the power is here, not in its complexity. It shouldn't ever be hard to do. And, like you were just saying, you take 10 minutes, one honest minute done regularly, consistently, mindfully, and with presence nourishes you far more than any complicated ceremony done one time. So, any closing thoughts today for the show?
One of the biggest traps of starting a new ritual is trying to start a lot of new rituals. In the book Atomic Habits, I love how he brings this up. Start with 1 or 2. Do not do more than that. Especially if it's something big like going to the gym or trying to quit a bad habit. And when you go to try to replace those bad habits, find something to replace them with, because that void will suck you right back into them. So that's really the one piece of guidance I want to give. And be patient with yourself. It might look messy at first, but the more you practice, the more you show up, the more you're going to see change, and the more these rituals will become a part of your daily life.
Yeah. And remember, you're not doing these to perform. These are for you. So, no judgment on how you do it or what you actually do or why you're doing them. Those are questions for you. Those are your things.
Yeah.
We just want to give you kind of, some easy ways to do it.
Yeah. One thing I love how he references in the book is like going to the gym. Don't even focus on getting into the gym. Make your first time going just pulling up in the parking lot and walking in the doors. Mm-hmm. Next time, make it pulling up, walking through the doors, and walking past the equipment. Then let it be a 5-minute walk on the treadmill, but just start small and build the momentum. I look at momentum as you push something uphill first before it starts rolling down the hill. And the more you push it uphill, the more momentum it'll get on the other side.
Yeah, it's difficult to pair the supernatural with the mundane, with everyday life. And the way to bridge those things, because there's a lot of supernatural in this world. Even a Christian will tell you that, right? I have a pastor that I talk to who's a friend of mine, and we talk about the supernatural stuff a lot. But, it's in these small, quiet, simple things that we do for ourselves with presence, with purpose, with intention that bridge these gaps and really help us become more in alignment with the things we want and more resonant with the things that we're trying to accomplish. So before we get into our affirmations and journals and stuff today, let's pray. Source of all that is holy and alive in all of creation, I stand at the threshold of the unseen and the everyday. Today I remember the sacredness is not far away. It is woven into the breath I take, the steps I walk, the love I give and receive. I release the belief that ritual is strange or fearful. I claim the truth of your existence and the ancient wisdom already alive within me. The human impulse to honor, to connect, to create meaning. Every action, when chosen with love, becomes a prayer. Every word, when rooted in truth, becomes a blessing. May love infuse my daily rhythms. May truth guide the rituals I choose. May my outer actions reflect the integrity of my soul. May connection bind me to all of creation and to the light itself. May I remember the sanctity of life, treating every moment as holy ground. I bless my routines, the first sip of water in the morning, the quiet before sleep, the hands that work, and the heart that hopes. I bless my prayers, my meditations, my pauses to breathe, and notice the beauty within all. May these simple acts be shields of peace and bridges to the divine. And when I create new rituals, let them come from light and serve light. Keep me safe from fear, superstition, and harm. Root me in clarity, joy, and reverence. Today I walk as a conscious keeper of sacred rhythm. My life itself is a temple. My actions, living prayers. So it is, and may it always be.
Amen.
Our affirmations for today. I bring intention and light into my daily actions. My life is already filled with sacred rhythms, and I honor them. I create rituals that ground, protect, and connect me. I walk in truth and integrity, free from fear or superstition. My ordinary life is a holy place where the light of creation dwells. In our journaling prompts, what everyday actions already bring me comfort or meaning? How might I deepen their significance? Where am I moving on autopilot, and how could I infuse intention there? What small daily ritual could help me feel more connected to myself, others, or the light of creation? When have I felt safe and at peace in routine? What made it feel sacred? And are there any patterns I want to release because they drain or numb me rather than nourish me? So again, ritual isn't scary, it's not spooky, and it's not rare. We all do it. It's not locked away in temples or reserved for special people. It's already living inside of you. The question has never been if you practice ritual, but how you practice it. Every action can be just another motion, or it can be a moment of connection. A sip of water can be hydration and hydration only, or it could be hydration and gratitude. Lighting a candle can be just for light or for warmth, or it could also be a quiet declaration that you choose light over fear. Even walking through the leaves in autumn, this time of year, can become prayer when you decide to move with intention. So the ethos call us here to bring love, to bring kindness to our daily rhythms, truth, to live without pretending or performing, integrity, to align our actions with our being, mind, body, spirit, heart. Connection, to remember you belong to creation and to the people around you. The sanctity of life, to treat every moment as holy and as holy ground. So here's my invitation to you. Choose one action today and make it sacred. One breath before you open your phone or laptop. One blessing before you eat. One candle for gratitude. Just one little act done with intention can change the whole entire universe for you, one at a time. You don't need permission. This is the most important thing I want to leave with all of you today. You don't need permission. You don't need credentials. You don't need any elaborate or ancient or fancy sacred tools. You are the tool. You are the one that gives yourself permission. You have all the credentials you need infused in you before you were born, right?
You know,
So bring that stuff. Remember who you are. Bring that into your everyday life and watch how the ordinary turns holy. Then, if you guys feel led to share your experience, tell a friend, tell your mentors, tell whoever what you did and how it worked for you. Post about it. Tag this show so we can see what you're doing too. Not because we're watching you, but because we want to see how you guys are doing. We don't ever hear from you guys. We love you guys. So, we want to see how you're doing. And if there's anywhere we can help you, we're happy to. So just remember, sharing our light to others doesn't diminish our own. The light, it doesn't go, you can't dim it by sharing it. It just makes the whole path brighter for all of us, right? So, and one other thing, you don't have to do these things with perfection, as Michael said earlier. Just do it. Just freaking do it with intention and purpose. Thank you so much for joining us today. Michael, thank you so much for being here. Heather, thanks for being creepy and hanging out behind me and breathing on my neck or whatever you were doing over here. Make sure to check out our socials, check out our webpage, newashla.com. And till next time, with love and gravity.
Gravity of the situation.
With love and gratitude. Ad Lucium.
Ad Lucium.